Lieutenant Jack Mason stared through the viewport of the Earth Defense Fleet ship Valiant. His hands gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. The massive alien ship hanging in space near Mars orbit was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was sleek, with surfaces that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. "Lieutenant, the captain wants you on the bridge," said a young officer behind him. Jack nodded and took one last look at the alien vessel. After years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. But it wasn't the happy meeting people had hoped for. On the bridge, Commander Alice Bradley stood with her back straight and her face serious. The main screen showed a live feed from Earth, where world leaders met with the aliens who called themselves the Zorexi. "Mason, good timing," Alice said. "Earth Command just sent new orders." Jack moved to her side. "What's happening at the meeting?" Alice's mouth tightened into a thin line. "Nothing good. The Zorexi just demanded that Earth give up all its weapons and military ships." "What? Why would they ask that?" Jack asked. "Their ships are huge. Their technology is clearly far ahead of ours." "That's what doesn't make sense," Alice replied. She pulled up a report on her screen. "According to what they told our leaders, they'd been watching Earth for over 50 years. They've seen our wars, how fast we develop new weapons, how quickly we learn." Jack crossed his arms. "So they're afraid of us. That seems backward. Fear makes people do strange things, Mason. Even aliens, it seems." Alice pointed to another screen showing data from the ship's sensors. "They're launching smaller ships, heading our way." The bridge crew tensed. A young woman at the communications station looked up. "Commander, should we call Earth for instructions?" Alice shook her head. "No time. They want to see what we'll do when faced with a threat." She turned to Jack. "What do you think, Lieutenant? You've studied more first contact scenarios than anyone else on this ship." Jack watched the approaching alien crafts on the screen. They moved with incredible speed and precision. "If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already," he said slowly. "I think this is a test." "A test of what?" asked the weapons officer, his hand hovering over his console. "Of how dangerous we really are," Jack answered. "If we run, we look weak but harmless. If we attack first, we prove their right to fear us." Alice nodded. "And if we stand our ground without showing aggression, then we show strength and restraint. The two things they probably don't expect from us," Jack said. "All stations, battle alert," Alice commanded. "Power up defensive systems only. No weapons targeting. Let them make the first move." The bridge hummed with activity as crew members carried out her orders. The alien ships drew closer, now clearly visible through the main viewport. "They're scanning us," reported the sensor officer. "Deep scans, going through all our systems." Jack felt sweat on his forehead. One wrong move could start a war humanity couldn't win. The alien ships suddenly stopped their approach, hovering just 500 meters from the Valiant. The communications officer spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission." "On screen," Alice ordered. The main screen flickered, and for the first time, humans aboard the Valiant saw a Zorexi up close. The alien had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its eyes were large and completely black, set in a face with no visible nose and only a small mouth. When it spoke, the words came through the ship's translation system. "Humans of Earth vessel, you did not flee. You did not attack." Interesting. Perhaps the High Council's fears are not entirely correct. Alice stepped forward. "We want peaceful relations with your people. We're explorers, not conquerors." The Zorexi's expression was hard to read. Many species say this. Few mean it when faced with superior technology they could take. "We will continue to observe." The screen went dark as the transmission ended. The alien ships began to retreat toward their mothership. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "What happens now?" Alice looked at him, her expression grave. "Now we hope that we passed their test. because I think that was just the beginning. 6 months had passed since the first meeting with the Zorexi. Things had not improved much. The aliens had built a large base in Geneva, where they met with Earth leaders. Their demands remained the same. Humans must limit their space travel, share all new technology with the Zorexi, and allow alien advisors in all major governments. Dr. Samantha Wells yawned as she looked into her microscope. As one of Earth's best scientists studying alien life, she had been working long hours. The government had given her rare samples of Zorexi tissue to study. "That can't be right," she muttered, adjusting the settings on her microscope. Her friend and fellow scientist, Dr. Kevin Palmer, looked up from his computer, found something weird. "Look at this," Samantha said, moving aside so Kevin could see. "The Zorexi cells are breaking down when exposed to our air." Kevin stared into the microscope. No wonder they always wear those environmental suits when they're outside their base. "It's not just the oxygen," Samantha said, checking her notes. "It's something else in our environment, something that's toxic to them." She turned back to her computer, where she had been studying reports from the meetings with the Zorexi. All the aliens wore special suits that covered their entire bodies. The suits had systems that filtered the air they breathed. Kevin pointed to another sample. "Look at this one too. I added some common Earth bacteria to it. The reaction is even stronger." Before Samantha could respond, her computer beeped with an urgent message. She clicked it open and read quickly. "It's from the Zorexi base," she said, her voice tense. "There's been an accident. Their environmental systems failed in one section of their building. Several Zorexi were exposed to Earth's atmosphere for almost 10 minutes before they could fix it." "Are they sick?" Kevin asked. "They're dying," Samantha said, already gathering her equipment. "And they're asking for our help." 2 hours later, Samantha and Kevin stood outside the Zorexi base's medical wing. They had to put on special clean suits before they could enter. Inside, they saw 6 Zorexi lying on beds, their blue skin now a dull gray color. A human doctor met them at the door. "Dr. Wells, thank you for coming so quickly. We've tried everything we know, but their condition is getting worse. Their ambassador said you might understand what's happening to them." Samantha nodded, looking at the sick aliens. "I think I do. Their bodies can't handle certain bacteria that are common on Earth, bacteria that are completely harmless to humans. Our bodies live with these bacteria from the time we're born, but to the Zorexi, they're deadly." "Can you help them?" the doctor asked. "I need to run more tests," Samantha said, "but I think we can develop a treatment based on human antibodies." One of the Zorexi, who seemed to be a leader, managed to speak through his translator device. "You knew about this weakness." Samantha moved closer to him. "We just discovered it today. If we had known earlier, we could have warned you about the danger." The Zorexi made a sound that the translator didn't catch. Then he spoke again. "We came here, believing humans were dangerous because of your weapons. We never imagined the danger would be microscopic. We'll do everything we can to help you," Samantha promised. As she and Kevin began their work, messages started coming in from around the world. Zorexi at other bases were falling ill too. And then more concerning news arrived. The same illness had appeared on Zorexi ships and even on their home planets. The Zorexi ambassador, now confined to an even more secure environmental suit, met with Earth's leaders in an emergency session. "Our people are dying across our territory," the ambassador said, his voice solemn. "The bacteria from Earth has spread throughout our population. Without help, the Zorexi Confederation will not survive." The human leaders looked at each other in shock. "The very qualities that made you fear us," said the United Nations Secretary, "are now your only hope for survival." The Zorexi ambassador bowed his head. "Yes, we feared your adaptability and resilience. Now we must ask you to use those strengths to save us." The sickness spreading among the Zorexi was worse than anyone had first thought. Reports came in from all parts of their territory. On dozens of planets where Zorexi lived, the same illness was appearing. Captain Greg Nichols stood on the bridge of the hospital ship Mercy, watching as his crew prepared to welcome their unusual patients. The ship had been quickly changed from a military vessel to a medical one, filled with equipment that Dr. Samantha Wells and her team said would be needed. "Captain, the Zorexi shuttle is approaching," said his first officer, pointing to the screen. Greg nodded. "Tell Dr. Wright to prepare the isolation ward." Minutes later, Greg watched as Dr. Olivia Wright and her medical team, wearing full protection suits, helped the Zorexi ambassador onto the ship. The alien looked terrible. His skin, which should have been bright blue, was now a dull gray color. "We've identified what's making you sick," Dr. Wright told the ambassador as they moved him to the medical bay. "It's a type of bacteria that's common on Earth. Your people carry this naturally," the ambassador asked through his translator. His voice sounded weak. "Yes," Greg said, walking alongside them. "Most humans are exposed to this bacteria when we're children. Our bodies have evolved to live with it over thousands of years." The ambassador's large black eyes blinked slowly. "This explains much. Your resilience. We thought it was because you were aggressive creatures. But it is because you have adapted to survive in a harsh environment." They reached the medical bay, where other Zorexi officials were already being treated. Dr. Wright checked her tablet computer with the latest test results. "The bacteria is spreading very quickly through your population," she told the ambassador. "Based on our models, without treatment, the Zorexi could face extinction within a year." The ambassador was silent for a moment. Then he spoke softly. "Then we are at your mercy. The very thing that made us fear you, your ability to adapt to anything, may be our only hope." Later that day, Greg met with Dr. Wright and Samantha Wells in the ship's conference room. The three humans looked at the data on the large screen with serious expressions. "The treatment is working," Samantha said, pointing to a chart. "The antibodies we created from human blood samples are slowing the progress of the disease. But it's not a cure," Dr. Wright added. "It just buys us time." Greg leaned forward. "How much time?" "Maybe 6 months," Samantha said. "We need to develop something stronger, and we need to get it to every Zorexi world." "That's impossible," Greg said. "We don't have enough ships to reach their entire territory." The door opened, and Lieutenant Jack Mason entered the room. After the first contact incident on the Valiant, he had been assigned as a liaison between the military and the scientific teams. "Maybe we don't have to," Jack said. He placed a data card on the table and brought up a new set of images on the screen. "The Zorexi High Council has sent us the design for their medical replicators. If we can create the cure, they can mass produce it on their worlds." "There's a problem, though," Samantha said, looking at the designs. "These machines work differently than ours. We'll need to modify our formula to work with their technology." "Can you do it?" Greg asked. Samantha took a deep breath. "Yes, but we'll need direct access to their main medical facility on Zorexi Prime." Jack nodded. "I thought you might say that. Earth Command has already approved a mission. We leave in 3 days. To their home world." Dr. Wright asked, sounding surprised. "No human has ever been allowed there." "Things have changed," Jack said grimly. "Their leaders realize they have no choice now. Their fear of humans has turned into desperate hope." Greg stood up and looked at each of them. "Then we better not let them down. Humanity has been given a chance to prove we're not the monsters they thought we were." As they prepared for the unprecedented journey to the heart of the Zorexi Confederation, none of them knew that an even greater threat was approaching, one that would test both species in ways they couldn't imagine. 3 weeks after scientists identified the bacteria killing the Zorexi, the United Nations called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all Earth nations gathered to make a decision. It didn't take long. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would help save the aliens who had once feared them. Admiral Frank Warren stood in a large hangar, looking at the 30 ships that had been quickly changed from military vessels to medical ones. Doctors, nurses, and scientists moved around, loading supplies and equipment. These ships would carry medicine and experts to help the dying Zorexi. This mission will change everything, Admiral Warren told the crews gathered before him. Just 6 months ago, these aliens were making plans to contain us, maybe even destroy us. Now they're depending on us to save their entire civilization. Lisa Rodriguez, the lead scientist for the mission, stepped forward. She had worked closely with Samantha Wells to develop the treatment for the Zorexi. "We've created a medicine using modified human antibodies," she explained. "It won't cure them right away, but it will keep them alive until we can make a permanent solution." In another part of the hangar, Jack Mason, now promoted to captain after his work during First Contact, watched as the final boxes of medicine were loaded onto his ship. Next to him stood his second-in-command, Diana Foster. "Ready to be heroes to the aliens who wanted us locked away in our solar system?" Diana asked with a small smile. Jack looked at the medicine being loaded. "They were afraid of us because they didn't understand us. Maybe this is our chance to show them who humans really are." The next day, Earth's medical fleet left orbit, heading for Zorexi Prime, the home planet of the alien civilization. It would be the first time humans had ever traveled so far into space. The Zorexi had shared their faster-than-light travel technology, allowing the human ships to reach their world in just 2 weeks instead of decades. During the journey, Jack spent many hours talking with the Zorexi ambassador, who was slowly recovering thanks to the treatment. "I still don't understand," Jack said one day. "Your ships, your weapons, they're far more advanced than ours. Why were you so afraid of humans?" The ambassador's skin had begun to return to its normal blue color. "We have studied many species across the galaxy, Captain Mason. None develop as quickly as humans. What took us 1,000 years to discover, your people learned in a century. Your weapons today are simple, yes, but at your rate of progress. You thought we would catch up to you," Jack realized, "and perhaps surpass us." The ambassador added, "There is something in your people, a drive, a determination, that we have not seen elsewhere." It frightened our leaders. "And now?" Jack asked. "Now we hope that same determination will save us." 2 weeks later, the fleet arrived at Zorexi Prime. From orbit, the planet looked beautiful, blue oceans and landmasses covered in cities that sparkled like jewels. But the beauty hid a terrible reality. Nearly half the Zorexi population was already sick. Jack stood on his ship's bridge as they entered orbit. A message came in from the Zorexi High Council, the leaders of their entire civilization. "They're requesting that you and Dr. Rodriguez meet with them in person," said Diana, looking surprised. "No outsider has ever been invited to the High Council chamber." "Tell them we accept," Jack said immediately. Hours later, Jack and Lisa Rodriguez prepared to take a shuttle down to the planet's surface. They would be the first humans to set foot on an alien world. "I never imagined my first step on another planet would be to save the aliens who wanted to contain us," Lisa said as they boarded the shuttle. Jack checked his environmental suit one last time. "That's the thing about humans, Dr. Rodriguez. We're full of surprises, even to ourselves." As their shuttle descended toward the crystal cities of Zorexi Prime, neither of them knew that the Zorexi leaders had more to discuss than just the plague. A new threat was approaching, one that would require more from humanity than medicine. Zorexi Prime was even more beautiful up close. The planet had blue oceans and lands covered with cities made of crystal-like buildings that caught the light of their blue sun. Jack Mason and Lisa Rodriguez stepped out of their shuttle onto alien soil, the first humans to ever visit this world. A group of Zorexi officials waited for them. Even with the treatment, many looked weak, their normally bright blue skin still dull and gray in places. "Welcome to our world, humans," said the lead Zorexi. "The High Council is waiting." Jack and Lisa were led through a city unlike any on Earth. Buildings rose like giant crystals, connected by bridges that seemed to float in the air. The streets were wide, but strangely empty. The plague had kept many Zorexi in their homes. "The medicine we brought is already being distributed," Lisa told their guide. "Your people should start feeling better within days." The Zorexi nodded. We are grateful. But there is another reason the Council wishes to speak with you. They arrived at a massive building in the center of the city. Inside, the ceiling rose hundreds of feet above them, with light streaming through crystal walls in all colors. The council chamber was a large round room, where 5 tall Zorexi sat in curved chairs. They wore more elaborate environmental suits than the ones Jack had seen before. Humans, began the center counselor, we welcome you to Zorexi Prime. No other species has been invited here in over 300 years. Jack stepped forward. We're honored, and we're glad we could help with the plague. Your help with the bacterial infection shows a generosity we did not expect, said another counselor. We misjudged your species in ways we are only beginning to understand. Lisa smiled. We're just happy we could help. You misunderstand, said the first counselor. This plague is only the beginning of our troubles. Our scientists have discovered something far worse approaching our worlds, something we have no defense against. The center of the room lit up with a 3-dimensional image. It showed a massive object moving through space, heading directly toward Zorexi territory. The Devourers, explained the counselor, an ancient species that consumes everything in its path. We have known about them for centuries and prepared defenses, but this plague has weakened us beyond recovery. Jack studied the image. The object wasn't a ship. It looked more like a massive living creature, with parts that moved and shifted. What exactly are these Devourers? Lisa asked. Living ships, said a third counselor. Organic vessels that consume matter and energy. They break down planets, stars, everything they touch. They have destroyed 3 civilizations before ours. And they're coming here, to Zorexi Prime. Jack asked. The lead counselor's voice became grave. Yes, our scientists predict they will reach our outer colonies within 3 months. Our fleet is too weakened by the plague to stop them. Jack began to understand. That's why you called us here. You don't just need our medicine. You need our help fighting these Devourers. Yes, admitted the counselor. Once, we feared humanity's potential for warfare. Now we hope it will be our salvation. If the Devourers consume the Zorexi Confederation, Earth will be next. Lisa and Jack exchanged looks. This was far beyond their mission to deliver medicine. I don't have the authority to commit Earth to a war, Jack said carefully, but I can promise to take your message back to our leaders. That is all we ask, said the counselor. That, and for you to see what we face. The image in the room changed, showing a recording of a Devourer attack on another world. Jack and Lisa watched in horror as the massive organic ships broke apart a planet, consuming everything. If they reach your world, the counselor said, this will be Earth's fate as well. We are no longer enemies, humans. We must be allies, or we will both perish. The message from Zorexi Prime reached Earth a week later. Leaders from all nations gathered to hear what Jack Mason and Lisa Rodriguez had learned about the Devourers. The reaction was mixed. Some people didn't trust the Zorexi and thought this Devourer threat might be a trick to get human military technology. Others believed helping the aliens was the right thing to do. After 3 days of debate, Earth's leaders made their decision. If the Devourers destroyed the Zorexi, they would come for Earth next. It was better to fight them together than to face them alone. Commander Diane Phillips stood on the bridge of the newly built battleship Defiance. Earth had worked day and night for 8 months to build 12 warships, something that would normally take years. The Zorexi ships are in position, reported her weapons officer, Alan Bryant. He pointed to the display showing the alien vessels forming a line in space. But their weapons aren't working well. Their crews are still weak from the sickness. Then we'll have to work harder, Diane said. Send our drone ships to protect their flanks. The joint human Zorexi fleet had gathered at the edge of Zorexi space. It was the last place they could stop the Devourers before they reached populated worlds. Earth's ships were smaller than the Zorexi vessels, but they had one big advantage. Their crews were healthy and ready to fight. The human ships also carried a secret weapon, developed by Samantha Wells and her team based on what they had learned about the Devourers. "Commander, they're coming," Alan said, his voice tense. The main screen showed strange shapes moving through space toward them. The Devourers didn't look like normal ships. They were huge living creatures with parts that moved and changed shape. "All ships, battle positions," Diane ordered. "Remember your training." The Devourer fleet came closer, and the battle began. The Zorexi ships fired first, their energy weapons cutting through space. The beams hit the lead Devourer, but something strange happened. The creature's outer skin absorbed the energy, barely showing any damage. "Our turn," Diane said. "Fire main weapons." Earth's ships fired their missiles and energy cannons. The weapons hit the Devourers, causing more damage than the Zorexi weapons, but still not enough. "They're healing," Alan reported. "Their outer skin is fixing itself faster than we can damage it." Diane watched as a Devourer moved toward a Zorexi cruiser. The living ship wrapped around the cruiser, and to her horror, she saw the alien vessel start to break apart, its materials being absorbed by the Devourer. "We need a new plan," she said. "Our weapons aren't working." She stared at the battle, thinking hard. Then she remembered something from the briefings about the plague that had almost killed the Zorexi. "The bacteria," she said suddenly. "The Earth bacteria that made the Zorexi sick. What if it affects these creatures too? They're organic, living things." Alan looked at her. "The vaccine storage on the medical ships. It's filled with samples of the bacteria in contained units." "Exactly," Diane said. She opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels, prepare to deploy biological packages. We're going to give these Devourers a taste of Earth's ecosystem." The human ships changed tactics. Instead of firing weapons, they launched special containers toward the Devourers. When the containers hit, they broke open, releasing clouds of microscopic life forms, bacteria that were harmless to humans but deadly to alien biology. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The Devourers continued their attack, absorbing 2 more Zorexi ships. But then, something changed. The lead Devourer's movements began to slow. Parts of its outer skin turned gray, just like the Zorexi had when they got sick. "It's working," Alan said in amazement. "The bacteria is affecting them." Diane nodded. "Send the signal to deploy all remaining bacterial containers. Target every Devourer you can reach." As the battle continued, more Devourers began to show signs of sickness. Their attacks became slower, less coordinated. For the first time, the combined fleet began to gain the upper hand. "The Zorexi Admiral is hailing us," Alan said. The face of the Zorexi commander appeared on screen. "Human commander, what have you done to the Devourers?" "We gave them a cold," Diane said with a small smile. "Sometimes the smallest weapons are the most effective." The battle against the Devourers lasted 3 days. In the end, it wasn't the powerful weapons of either humans or Zorexi that won the fight, but the tiny bacteria from Earth the humans carried naturally in their bodies. The Devourers, like the Zorexi, had no defense against Earth's unique biology. 1 year later, leaders from 27 different alien civilizations gathered on Earth. They came to form a new alliance called the Galactic Cooperative, with humanity playing a central role. Jack Mason, now an admiral in Earth's growing space fleet, stood next to Zorexi High Counselor Verex. They were in Geneva, the same city where the Zorexi had first demanded Earth surrender its weapons. Now they were unveiling a monument to honor those who died fighting the Devourers. "It is strange," Verex said through his translator, "that the very things that made us fear humans are what saved not just our civilization, but perhaps all civilizations in this part of the galaxy." Jack nodded. "Your people feared our adaptability, our ability to survive in harsh conditions. You saw those as signs we might be dangerous. We were not entirely wrong," Verex admitted. "Humans are dangerous, but we failed to see that dangerous does not always mean harmful. Sometimes, danger is necessary to face greater threats." Samantha Wells joined them at the monument. After her work with the bacteria saved 2 civilizations, she had been named Earth's first ambassador for alien biology. "The monument is ready," she told them. Together, they pulled away the covering to reveal the statue beneath. It showed a human hand and a Zorexi hand reaching toward each other, with a small microscope between them. Below it, words in both human and Zorexi languages read, "In the smallest life forms, we found our greatest strength." People from Earth and visitors from a dozen alien worlds applauded. In orbit above Earth, ships from many civilizations formed a pattern of honor, a salute to the planet that had transformed from the galaxy's greatest worry to its greatest hope. Later that evening, Jack stood at the window of the new Galactic Cooperative headquarters, looking up at the stars. Lisa Rodriguez came to stand beside him. "I keep thinking about what the Zorexi Council told us that first day on their planet," she said. "They feared us because we developed technology so quickly, because we adapt to survive anything." Jack smiled. "And now 27 civilizations want to be our friends for exactly those reasons. The Talarians want our help developing medicines," Lisa said. "The Pelleran want to learn how we built ships so quickly for the battle. Even the Zorexi are studying our history to understand how we think." "We've come a long way in 1 year," Jack agreed. "From being seen as a dangerous species that needed to be controlled, to being valued allies." The door opened, and Diana Phillips entered. She had been promoted to admiral after her successful command during the battle. "The Galactic Council is ready for the first official meeting," she told them. "As Earth's representatives, you should be there." As they walked toward the council chamber, Jack thought about everything that had happened. The fear the aliens had felt, the plague that nearly destroyed them, the battle that brought everyone together. "What do you think comes next?" Lisa asked quietly. Jack looked at the room ahead of them, filled with beings from across the galaxy. "I think we explore the galaxy together," he said, "not as conquerors or as servants, but as equals." The Zorexi feared what humans might become. Now they'll get to see it, and I think they'll be pleased with what they find. In the council chamber, representatives from worlds humans had never even heard of a year ago waited to begin building a future together. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, no longer feared or isolated. Humanity had found its place among the stars not through conquest or submission, but by being what they had always been, stubbornly, persistently, wonderfully human.